in Bangladesh on Friday were overflowing with patients suffering from dengue, amid a record number of deaths from the virus for the second year in a row. Shariful Islam is watching over his family members who are on the floor of this Dhaka hospital.
Since we came here, the doctors and nurses told us that they cannot provide us with a proper bed, but if we stay, they would treat us. We had no other choice but to arrange things on the floor for my mother and sister.
The mosquito-borne virus has led to nearly 300 deaths, a record for the country, and more than 37,000 infections, according to official figures as of Thursday. Health officials said patients are suffering from high fever, joint pain, and vomiting. There is no vaccine or drug that specifically treats dengue, which is common in South Asia during the June to September monsoon season, as the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which spreads the virus, thrives in stagnant water. Early detection and access to proper medical care, however, can reduce deaths to fewer than 1% of patients. Jahangir Nagar University professor of entomology Kabirul Bashar expects the case numbers to keep rising.
When the pre-monsoon rains started in April, so did the Aedes mosquito breeding. The virus had already spread within the community, therefore it was also being transmitted. This is the reason why we are seeing such a high number of dengue cases in July. This will probably increase further in August and September.
The government has launched an awareness campaign to limit the spread of the disease and efforts to kill mosquito larvae following a spell of rains, according to the health minister.
Now, in the early days of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, many observers were surprised at how poorly the Russian army's electronic warfare units performed. But now, nearly 18 months later, they're causing significant problems for Ukraine's counter-offensive, disrupting even the most sophisticated weapons its forces have received from NATO countries. The BBC's Abdul Rahasulov has more details.
Their battles are invisible, but the danger they face is real. This is a Ukrainian electronic intelligence unit. Their job is not to fight with guns, but to monitor emissions. Signals used by drones, air defense systems, multiple rocket launchers and other weapons. We can't show their faces for security reasons. The team leader with the call sign Alan says that Russian forces constantly hunt down units like his. Their mission is part of a hidden confrontation called electronic warfare. But how does it work?
Almost every modern weapon uses radio waves, microwaves, infrared or other signals to send or receive data. And electronic warfare uses this vulnerability in order to disrupt enemies' communications, gather intelligence and identify targets. And for the first time since World War II, we're witnessing a conflict where both sides are heavily relying on their electronic warfare systems as part of their military strategy.
Drones have become a key feature in this war, but this is what happens when they are jammed by electronic warfare systems. It's not just drones that can be affected. Most sophisticated arms Ukraine has received from NATO countries use a GPS link for navigation. So when Russia jams this signal, even high-precision weapons, including HIMARS rocket artillery, can miss their target. That is why both Russia and Ukraine keep their electronic warfare, or EW capabilities, in secret.
This war represent us new and very effective abilities of drones, radars, communications, and all of this system could be affected with EW means. If we destroy Russian jammers, we improve capabilities of our troops in detection and ability to have precise strikes.
Here, Ukrainian special forces have spotted Polet-21, a Russian system that jams GPS signals. Ukrainian artillery put it out of action. But Russia is on a hunt for Ukrainian electronic warfare units too. Alan's group comes under fire. He thinks that Russian troops may have discovered their antenna and now are looking for their base. Alan tells everyone to use single rounds in order to last till the morning. He decides to change their location because the position is compromised. The key in electronic warfare is being invisible to your enemy. Abdujalil Abdurasulov, BBC News, Kiev.
President Putin has had to contend with an attack on a Russian Navy ship, which Ukraine says it carried out using an unmanned sea drone, which was carrying nearly half a ton of explosives. The ship was docked in the port of Novorossiysk, which is a major hub for Russian exports. A video released by the Ukrainian security services appears to show such a weapon hitting the side of a Russian naval vessel. From Kiev, our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse reports.
In waters dominated by Russia, Ukraine relies on stealth. Under the cover of night, this sea drone moves towards the Olegonorsky Gonyak. A Russian warship, typically used for carrying supplies, meets a hunter designed to detonate on impact. Under the light of the next day, the vessel appears to be badly damaged, leaning to the side while being towed to shore. Novorossiysk is a major Russian export hub for oil and grain. Ukraine has claimed responsibility. It tends to when it comes to sea drone assaults on the Black Sea. As with the recent damage to the Kerch Bridge connecting occupied Crimea to mainland Russia. It's also been a fortnight where Ukrainian ports have been pummeled by Russian missiles. Ukraine hopes attacks like these will make Russia think twice about flexing its muscles on the Black Sea. It's clearly trying to hit back where it can in the face of relentless missile attacks. Kiev's allies have long been worried about this war spilling over. So what do they make of these attacks further afield? According to one presidential advisor, Ukraine's need to take the fight to Russia outweighs any other concern.
It is clear that it is impossible to win the war if you are not actively attacking. You can't just watch it happen. We are at war. Our partners have already realised it is not just a small conflict. War is war. It is necessary to destroy the capabilities of the other side.
What Kiev doesn't admit to are the increasing number of drone strikes closer to Moscow. It claims to draw a line on what it targets, saying occupied territories like Crimea and threats in the Black Sea are fair game. Regardless, this war's footprint seems to be getting bigger. And whether you are Ukraine or Russia in this war, your actions have a political and military dimension. So if you look at what's happening in Novorossiysk, if Ukraine continues to successfully mount such attacks, then they could well frustrate supply lines. They could force Russia's Black Sea naval fleet to make manoeuvres it wasn't planning to. It might make it think twice about launching relentless missiles across Ukraine. And if that happens, then political pressure can be applied on Moscow as it continues to try and justify what it's doing. And there's another dimension we need to think about. Tomorrow in Saudi Arabia, there is a peace summit involving more than 40 countries without Russia, where they will try to agree the principles of a future peace deal. Now, Ukraine and Russia have both said that they are still a long way off from sitting across from the negotiating table. And if we look at what is happening on the Black Sea, if we look at what is continuing to happen in Ukraine, and more so Russia, then the conditions are hardly being set.